What's up? It's your boy Hawk. How you guys doing today? The NBA offseason is officially here. I didn't jump on right away and want to make a video immediately. I wanted to let the opening weekend breathe a little bit. Now we got a lot to talk about, so grab your snacks, get a glass of water, whatever you want, because we're gonna be here for a while. I'm gonna go over all the trades and transactions that meant something to me. I ain't gonna cover everything, but I'm gonna cover a lot. Let's go ahead and hop into it. The first thing I want to cover is the Dante Murray trade. I'm still skeptical. I'll be honest. I'm still skeptical. I get the idea on paper, but I'm skeptical. The Spurs picked up Danilo Gallinari, an inspiring contract, a couple of draft picks. Great move for the Spurs. It's clear that they're going into a rebuild. I'm curious to see how that works out. I won't be surprised if we see or hear about Popovich moving into a front office role with the Spurs and getting away from actually coaching. They just picked up Brett Brown as an assistant, so maybe Pop does another year and then Brett Brown takes over the rebuild. We'll see. But for Atlanta picking up DeJounte Murray, it makes sense on paper. I get it. We're all talking about DeJounte Murray is an excellent defender. I love him on defense. He's actually a solid scorer as well. Good with the ball, a big on-ball guy, just like Trae Young. I'm curious to see how the offense is going to work, though. Defense, it makes sense. You put DeJounte Murray on the point of attack, and he is your perimeter defender. Like, he's a great defender. I get that. But a lot of people are telling me, oh, just slide Trae Young to the 2. He runs around a whole bunch of screens and let him play the Steph Curry role. I think you're underestimating, one, how in shape Steph Curry is and how difficult it is to do what he does. If it was that easy, it'd be a lot of shooting guards in the league that ran around as much as Steph Curry does. We don't see that happen. But two, what makes Trae Young so special a lot of times is his ability to shoot and create off the dribble, not only for himself, but for others. We know he's an amazing playmaker. He just led the league in total assists last year, total assists and points. He's a bucket getter and a distributor. I'm just very curious to see how the ball will be shared between these two individuals. Their usage rate is pretty high. Trae Young's was in the 30s. DeJounte Murray's was like mid-20s. On paper, I get it. I'm just a little skeptical. I'll admit I need to see it in person before I just say it's going to work. I'm not shooting it down. I get it. I'm just skeptical. The Dallas Mavericks made an amazing trade, picking up Christian Wood, and they basically just gave up a bunch of guys who don't play anymore on their rotation. Sterling Brown, Marquise Chris, Boban. I know Dallas fans, you love Boban. As a Sixers guy, I loved Boban. I was sad to see him leave when he left. And Trey Burke. All guys who, honestly, let's be real, weren't heavy into their rotations, especially in the playoffs when rotations shrink. Christian Wood, however, can be a guy who's going to get immediate play time for the Dallas Mavericks. I think he can kind of sort of do what they wanted Kristaps to do. And I mean, take that with a grain of salt. What I mean is he can be a guy who can finish well in the pick and roll. He's a great lob target for Luka. He's solid defensively. He can spread the floor a little bit, especially in that mid-range game. I see him doing a lot of pick and pop for some nice middies with Luka this year. I say similar to what Kristaps can do because Kristaps also wanted some post-ups. I don't think you have to worry about Christian Wood demanding post-ups and taking the ball out of Luka's hands that often. He's going to play off Luka beautifully. And a lot of Rockets fans, a lot of Houston fans have been telling me Christian Wood isn't as consistent as I think. A lot of Houston Rockets fans have been telling me Christian Wood isn't as consistent as I think he is. And I get that, but playing devil's advocate, you can make the argument he wasn't necessarily consistent because he also didn't have a true point guard. He didn't have a really good playmaker on his team. I love those young guards in Houston. I think they're bucket getters and I think they have some room to grow. But let's be honest, they're not amazing playmakers. And that necessarily wasn't a winning culture either. That was a culture of let the young guys play, let the young guys learn about the NBA. If we lose games, we lose games. He's now going into a winning culture. He's going to a team that was just in the Western Conference Finals. He's playing alongside one of the best players in the league, let alone one of the best playmakers in the league in Luka. I think this is a great fit for Christian Wood, and we're going to see a lot out of him this season. Let's talk about John Wall. Speaking of Houston finally, and I mean finally, bought out John Wall. I was hoping they were going to do that last year so we can see him play last year, but he didn't. I get it, because from everything I can see, he only gave up $6 million off of his $47 million contract. So he still walked away with about $40 million. I'm not sure the intricacies of that, if there's a payment plan or if that was all one lump sum. That's wild if it was one lump sum. I have to look that up for you guys. But he's now a Los Angeles Clipper. For the Clippers, this is an excellent move. It's high-key a low-risk, high-reward move for them, because if John Wall doesn't look good, if he doesn't look serviceable or playable, you can still run with Reggie Jackson. They've been doing it for a while. Reggie Jackson is serviceable. I would love an upgrade at that position for them, but Reggie Jackson is solid, and you still would come back with a healthy Kawhi, a healthy PG. Hopefully they play a full season. It feels like it's been forever since we've seen those two guys play a full season together. But if John Wall can come back and look good, and I'm not even asking for Wizards John Wall, I'm not asking for all-star, all-NBA level John Wall. I think that John Wall is gone. And I don't even need him to come in and give me 20 a game. If he can come in, give me like 15 a game on some solid efficiency and just be a really good playmaker for the Clippers, this is going to be amazing for them. They have needed, for a while, in my opinion, someone who can come in and set up other guys, someone who can come in and be a playmaker, whether that have been Paul George or Kawhi. And we've seen them, to their credit, we've seen them be good playmakers, you know, in their time there with the Clippers. But I think if John Wall could be a missing piece for them to be a playmaker, to set up some of the other guys, this is a great move, potentially a great move for the Clippers. And they re-signed Zubac to a veteran extension, which I also love. I like Zubac a lot. He's not an amazing big in the league, nothing crazy. I just think he fits perfect with the Clippers. I'm jumping around here, but one guy I'm surprised who didn't go somewhere else. Gary Harris re-signed with the Orlando Magic. Maybe the Magic wanted to stick with their guy. Maybe the opportunities or the contracts weren't necessarily out there for him for other teams. But he was a guy who, honestly, I can see some other teams that are playoff teams trying to pick him up. I like the Magic for keeping him. I just thought another team was going to try to poach him away. Some other pieces around the league. New Orleans re-signed Zion Williamson to a 5-year, $193 million contract. That part is guaranteed, and he has the opportunity to go up to $231 million, depending on if he makes, I want to say, some All-NBA or All-Star teams. There's some room for growth in that contract. And I didn't see a lot of controversy about this. I think everybody understands that. I get it. Zion's been struggling with some injury. We've seen in the beginning of this season, he was struggling with some weight. I went on record saying I just knew we'd see him this season. And I was telling everybody, wait till you see him. You're going to be eating your words when you see him play. We didn't see him play. Understandable, whatever. But he looks good. I'm liking what I'm seeing from him. We saw those clips back right before playoffs of him dunking and looking good. We saw some pictures of him looking good recently. I like this. It makes sense. For one, the Pelicans, you needed to sign him just to sell tickets. Having Zion is going to sell tickets, is going to sell season tickets. I completely get it. And if he plays healthy, if he looks good, the Pelicans are going to be a team that's right in the mix of fighting for the playoffs. With you got CJ, you got BI, you got Zion, you got Valanciunas. That's a solid team. And if Zion is healthy, watch out for the Pelicans. Shout out to Darius Garland. He also agreed to a $231 million extension, which honestly, once again, it's an extension that makes sense for me. We saw him this year. He's an all-star caliber guy. He had an amazing year. He stepped in and proved that he's one of the best point guards in the league. I'm not mad at this at all from the Cavs. To me, it's an absolute no-brainer. So let's talk about a trade that didn't make sense to me. The Utah Jazz traded away Rudy Gobert to the Timberwolves for Malik Beasley, Patrick Beverley, Walker Kessler, Jared Vanderbilt, and multiple first-round picks. Those picks, I want to say, are 2023, 2025, and 2027, unprotected at all. And then the top 5 protected in 2029. So that is 4 first-round picks, 3 of which are unprotected. Now, don't get me wrong. Honestly, in my mind, Rudy is worth that. We're talking about a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. We're talking about, in my mind, the best paint protector in the league. The best, hands down, paint protector in the league, Rudy Gobert. But does that make sense for the Timberwolves? To me, no, it doesn't make sense at all. And I know everyone's going to tell me, Cat played the 4 all season alongside Jared Vanderbilt. I get it. He did. I watched him play the 4, but I also watched him getting stopped on the perimeter in the playoffs against guards. I think we gas a little bit his ability to create off the perimeter. Is he an amazing shooter on the perimeter? Yes, he's probably the best big man shooter in the league right now. But when it comes to putting the ball on the floor, creating on his own shot, getting to the basket, I don't love that for him. I think he can do that from time to time, but I don't want that to be his new designation of playing this stretch 4 when so much of his ability is utilized at the highest level when he's in the post, in the paint. But he can't necessarily be in the post, in the paint if you also have Rudy Gobert, who's on a max contract, right alongside him. And also, quiet as kept, I think you're going to be looking at me crazy. I'm saying it now, but I think come the playoffs, we're going to see a lot of opportunities and moments, not even opportunity, that's the wrong word, but a lot of moments when Rudy Gobert is going to be on the bench in the fourth quarter and Cat's going to be playing the 5 because teams are going to try to run small and just like anybody else, just like that happened in Utah, bring Rudy out the paint. And this isn't the exact situation like it was in Utah, because I will admit the Timberwolves do have some better perimeter defenders than Utah had. Utah's perimeter defense was absolutely abysmal. I'm not going to say that about the Timberwolves, because I also think Anthony Edwards can take another step forward in terms of perimeter defense. He has the athleticism for it. He just has to get the mind for it. This move just doesn't make a lot of sense to me, like at all. I hope it works out for you guys. I hope it works out for you, Minnesota. But to me, this was not the move. Rudy would have helped out a lot of teams. Cat at the 4 just doesn't make sense to me. And I get it. He did it this season. I get it. He did it this season. But I also can vividly see moments where guards were able to lock him up when he tried to put the ball on the floor. I don't love it for them. So let's talk. All right, let's talk about a trade I absolutely loved. Malcolm Brogdon to the Celtics is genius. I've been saying for a while, going into the season, basically all this past season, especially when the Celtics were hovering around or below 500, I kept saying they need more playmaking. They need more playmaking. I was liking Smart, but they needed some more playmaking. And it turned out to be, at least during that time, that Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown stepped up their playmaking ability. And we saw them have an amazing season. Malcolm Brogdon can bring so much to this team. He, one, is a solid playmaker, but two, his ability to score, his ability to shoot at a high level, his defensive ability, adding another amazing two-way guy to that already great defense is wild. And honestly, they didn't have to give up much. They gave up Daniel Theis, Aaron Naismith, a 2023 first-round pick, Nick Stauskas, Malik Fitz, Juwan Morgan. Like they didn't really give up anything crazy. This is a great pickup for them, and I wouldn't be surprised, and I said this in a short before, but I wouldn't be surprised if Malcolm Brogdon at times comes off the bench. Because one, a lot of the Pacers fans were telling me, oh, he's not going to be healthy. He's not going to be healthy. He was never healthy for us. I get it. Brogdon is a little fragile, but him coming off the bench and mitigating his minutes, I think could be really helpful for him in terms of staying healthy, but also him coming off the bench, running that second unit allows him to have the ball in his hands from time to time, but not too much pressure because the Celtics have enough weapons that he can almost always be running with either Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown. But then, and to close out games, they can run in a beautiful small ball lineup of Smart, Brogdon, run Brown at the 3, Tatum at the 4, and then you have your choice of either Al Horford or Time Lord at the 5. That is a beautiful lineup for the Celtics. And you still keep guys like Peyton Pritchard, who's an amazing defender and can knock down a 3 from time to time. All right, let's talk about what the Kings are building right now. I'm hearing a lot of chatter from Kings fans. They made a lot of moves. They picked up Kevin Huerter. They signed Malik Monk. They got some guys who can shoot the ball well, create their own shot a little bit, play alongside Domantas Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox. I'm hearing a lot of positive feeling from Kings fans. One in the Discord, shameless plug. It's a couple of Kings fans in the Discord. They've been telling me about what's going on. Link in the bio if you want to join the Discord, by the way, since we're here talking about it. And they honestly didn't necessarily give up a ton. So Atlanta's trading Kevin Huerter to Sacramento Kings for Justin Holiday, Mo Harkless, future first-round pick. The pick was a 2024 lottery protected first round to the Hawks, which is solid. Lottery protected is great. And a top 12 protected in 2025, top 10 protected in 2026. All great picks. So if you do happen to still be a bad team, you retain those picks. But if you're a good team, you don't care about them. I want the Kings to do good. I think Kings fans in general have been through enough. They've had this wild playoff drought. They're ready for a playoff berth. They've made a lot of moves. I like Kevin Huerter's game a lot. I like Malik Monk's game. It's funny because actually in the Discord, it's been a lot of chatter about Malik Monk over the last couple of years, mainly because he's been a Laker and Lakers fans love talking about their guys. It's a big market. I completely understand. And I basically was like, I asked somebody, I said, is Malik Monk nice? Because I hear about him all the time, but I'll be honest, I don't watch a lot of his game. Everyone tells me he's solid. I'm going to take their word for it. I'm looking forward to see what he does with Sacramento. I'm going to make sure to watch a couple of their games to see how he's doing early in the season. I will say I'm curious to see how this works out, though. Sacramento, you made a lot of moves. I want you to do well. but I wouldn't be surprised if you're a play-in team again next year. I'll be honest, I wouldn't be surprised. The West is going to be really tough. We'll see if you guys can get it done. I wish you luck, though. All right, let's talk about some guys getting paid real quick. All these guys, in my mind, are well-deserving of the contracts that they got. Jokic got a max contract, 5-year, $270 million. Biggest contract in NBA history. Honestly, probably in a year or two, we're going to hear another biggest contract in NBA history. The cap keeps going up, and these guys are worth it, and teams are paying them. I completely understand. Ja Morant got a 5-year, $230 million. Insane. Good for him. Devin Booker, 4-year, $224 million. Completely worth it in my mind. Towns signed a deal. Ja Morant signed a deal. All these guys, absolutely worth it in my mind. You know a good deal that happened that I feel like snuck under the radar? Andre Drummond signed with the Chicago Bulls, and I'm reading this surprise because it even slipped my radar. I'm honestly just going through Woj's tweets for most of this video. Drummond signed a $6.6 million deal, 2-year deal with the Bulls. The second year is a player option. This is a great move for the Bulls. I think the Bulls have needed a better backup big all season long, and honestly, I like Drummond's game a lot. I liked him as a Sixer. I think he's a great backup big, and honestly, if there's times when Vucevic doesn't look like he's getting it done, Drummond can start. I don't know how that's going to go over in the locker room, things like that. I'm not fully in tune with Bulls organization, I'll be honest. But Drummond's a good big. I like him a lot. He's not necessarily the most mobile guy, but we all know he's a great rebounder. We all know he finishes solid around the rim. He doesn't seem to make as many dumb decisions as he did back in his Cleveland days, back in his Detroit days when he was trying to post up a lot, but he's still solid. Let's talk about these New York Knicks real quick. So they gave Jalen Brunson $104 million for 4 years. Is Jalen Brunson worth that? Probably. I think he's solid. I think a lot of people thought it was an egregious overpay, but I looked into it. That's I want to say either the 14th or the 15th highest contract amongst point guards. That makes him a solidly average starting point guard. And to me, he might be like a slightly above average point guard or just even a solid starter. And if that's the cost for it, that makes sense. The 14th highest contract means you're probably an average starting point guard. That's just the price of solid point guards in the league right now. Does it feel like an overpay for the Knicks, though? A little bit, because I don't know how better this makes you. I don't know if we're going to see the Knicks in the playoffs again next year. We'll see what happens, because a lot of it depends on RJ Barrett taking another step forward. A lot of it depends on, does Julius Randle look like he did in his MIP season, or does he regress to basically what we saw last year, which is what we saw all the years prior to his MIP season, which is nothing wrong with that. Per se, like, it's not a bad player. Please don't get that misinterpreted. I'm not calling him a bum. I'm not calling him a bust, anything like that. But I think the expectations that the Knicks, and especially Knicks fans, have are higher than what he's producing. Knicks and Knicks fans want him to be MIP season, Randall. I don't know if you're going to get that, though. We'll see, though, because Brunson is a solid playmaker. He might set up Julius for some nice buckets, might set up RJ for some nice buckets. We'll see. I have some high hopes for them. I like Jalen Brunson's game. I really wish he stayed in Dallas. I'm sure Dallas is going to miss him a lot. I like it for him, though. The man got paid. Real quick, talking about my Sixers. There's still nothing concrete yet, at least as of now, about the James Harden situation of how much he's going to sign for, or if he's going to, if James Harden somehow leaves, that'd be wild. But James Harden did opt out of his player option. Rumors are swirling around that he's going to try to sign on some team-friendly deal that's around $30-35 million a year. We allegedly picked up PJ Tucker for, I want to say it was 3 years, $30 million, or 2 years, $30 million. I want to say it was 3. A lot of Sixers fans don't like that trade, or calling him old, or calling him washed. However, while I think we maybe regret this trade, this pickup, this signing in maybe year 3, potentially, he is getting older. But I think he's worth it, at least now, going into this upcoming season, because I watched with my own 2 eyes PJ Tucker guard Trae Young full court during that Miami-Atlanta series. He was hounding Trae Young. And if we can get that level of defense from him on the Sixers, because I'll be honest, outside of Matisse Thybulle, we don't have an amazing point of attack defender. If PJ can be that for us while also shooting lights out from the corners, which, let's be real here, Matisse Thybulle can't, that's a huge win for the Sixers in my book. The James Harden situation, from what Woj said, they were supposed to talk about it this weekend and come to some sort of agreement this weekend. From everywhere I'm hearing, nothing happened yet. So we'll see. Hopefully something happens in this coming week. A random guy who got paid that I'm not mad at, Lou Dort signed a 5-year, $87 million deal with Oklahoma City. I get it. I was reading that Oklahoma City was below the cap minimum, and they're just doing, in my mind, the right thing and paying their guys to basically meet the cap minimum because they have so many young guys who are making basically nothing. They had to pay somebody. So Lou Dort, you got a little bag, and I ain't mad at you. Bobby Portis is staying with the Milwaukee Bucks on a 4-year, almost $50 million contract. Bobby Portis looked so good in the playoffs. There were moments where he's shooting turnaround jumpers, shooting threes, little step back action, defending well. I liked what I saw a lot from Bobby Portis. To me, I'll be honest, Bobby Portis in the last couple of years was a little bit of a meme player, somebody that the Milwaukee fan base really rocked with, so I heard his name a lot, but I wasn't necessarily sold on his game. He proved me wrong these playoffs, and he's shown me he's a really quality player, and he stepped up big in the absence of Brook Lopez. Now, Brook Lopez can come back and still look good. He's just another additional guy who can add some really good depth. So shout out to Bobby Portis for staying with the Bucks. Also, another guy who stayed with his team but got a bag, Anthony Simons signed a 4-year, $100 million contract. This is something that I'm really interested in because I love Anthony's game. I think he's a really, really good guard in this league, especially a good young guard in this league. But he's another guy who had the ball in his hands a lot this season. He was able to shine and thrive because, one, Dame wasn't there, and then they traded away CJ halfway through the season. He was the guy. The offense was him. So he was able to put up some really good numbers, show some really bright moments this season. I'm just curious to see how he plays alongside Damian Lillard, a guy who we know has the ball in his hand a ton. CJ worked great alongside of him because CJ's such a great off-ball guy. But when Dame was on the bench and CJ had the opportunity to run the second unit, he's a great on-ball guy as well. I'm hoping Anthony Simons could do something similar, but at the same time, how is this any different than just Dame and CJ? Now it's just Dame and Anthony. Portland, you got to do something else. I know you got Jeremy Grant. I'm really excited for Jeremy Grant to be there. I've been saying for a while you needed a better two-way wing who could also create for himself. You did that. You re-signed Nurkic. So I think you made an upgrade because you needed something better at the wing, and you got that in Jeremy Grant. Now I'm just curious to see how Anthony and Dame are going to play together in the backcourt. Bradley Beal signed a 5-year, $251 million max contract with the Wizards. A lot of people, especially on TikTok, I saw a lot of people wondering about this, wondering why the why the Wizards was doing this, why is Washington doing this? And I said, when he opted out, I was like, oh, he's going to sign for a max because Bradley, and don't ask me why, but me and my wife watch Bradley Beal's wife's vlogs. They're pregnant with their third baby. They have this beautiful home in the DC DMV area. They look like a family who settled into Washington. And to me, and I've said this before, and I please hope this isn't interpreted as disrespect or interpreted as I don't see Bradley Beal as an all-time great, but let's be honest, I don't. I love his game, but I don't see him as someone who we're going to remember 50 years from now to the general public. Us basketball heads are definitely going to remember Bradley Beal, but I don't see him as a guy who needs to win a championship for his legacy. And I think if he was that type of guy, if he was that caliber of a guy, if he was somebody like, for example, James Harden, who a lot of people think needs to win a chip for his legacy, Bradley Beal's not that. Bradley Beal's a guy who can, though, make $250 million in generational wealth, and no one in his family for generations will have to work again if they invest the money right. You know what I'm saying? So this is a great move for Bradley Beal. And a lot of people are saying, well, even if you're Washington, why would you sign this? This doesn't do much for you. I get it. But they made a couple of trades. They added Will Barton to the mix. I want to see what Bradley Beal and Kristaps can do healthy. I think they can be a playoff team. And if they're a playoff team, they can sell some tickets. I'm not mad at it. All right. Last but not least, we got to talk about these Brooklyn Nets. So Kyrie initially said, I want out. Let me go look for a sign and trade option. There was no sign and trade option available. So he said, I'm going to take this last year the deal. I'm going to take I want to say it was like $36 million. And then the very next day, Kevin Durant says, you know what? This is wild. Now I want to trade. Now, I made a TikTok or a YouTube short about it, basically saying I'm disappointed in Kevin Durant. I see both sides. To be real, to be upfront, and to be honest, I do see both sides. From a fan perspective, someone who's been rocking with KD for years, I am disappointed because you left OKC, then you went to the Warriors, you win with the Warriors. A lot of people don't respect those rings, whatever. You leave that team to create your own thing with Kyrie. And I say, okay, this might work. Y'all bringing James Harden. Personally, I was skeptical of that. You can go back and look. I got some shorts up. I got some videos up, whatever. I was skeptical of that because I didn't think the depth and the defense would be there. What is their biggest issue in my mind, as we saw going out throughout the course of this season? Kyrie doesn't play, so that's obviously a big hit to your depth. The defense also was subpar in my opinion. James Harden didn't like himself. He eventually gets traded to the Sixers. They get some good depth in my mind in and Andre Drummond and Seth Curry. Speaking of DeAndre Jordan, there was no reason y'all should have picked him up as well. From my understanding, that was because KD and Kyrie, that's their guy. They said we want DJ, so they went with DJ. Got him starting over Jared Allen and eventually move on from Allen altogether. Makes no sense to me. From Kevin Durant's perspective, I can get asking for a trade because you may feel like this team isn't going anywhere. Devil's advocate, though, you were a big part of why this team is in this situation. You have to also own that. You couldn't have foreseen Kyrie not wanting to play, not wanting to get a shot, and then basically only playing away games. You could not have foreseen that. I get that. But, and I've been on record with this before, me personally, I thought they were going to run it back. I thought they were going to run it back another year. The Nets did a good job of retaining guys like Joe Harris, guys like Nick Claxton. Joe Harris was a big missing piece for this team. He's an excellent three-point shooter who would have gave them a lot of extra spacing, and they basically missed him the whole season. He would have been coming back. You have Kyrie, you have KD. Point is here, I would have wanted the Nets organization, KD and Kyrie, to run it back. The Nets do a little bit of retooling. It wouldn't have been nothing crazy, but a little bit of retooling. Like Gary Harris off the bench would have been nice for the Nets if they would have had the money to pay him. Like those type of moves. Nothing crazy, just a couple of little pieces here and there. You got Ben Simmons coming back, give him an opportunity to play at a full season, have a training camp with him. Those big three of KD, Kyrie, and Ben been able to work together in the offseason, the team coming together in training camp. But no, now we don't know if we'll see that because Kevin Durant has demanded a trade. And a lot of people have been telling me, and a lot of people have been, rumors have been swirling since he announced it, obviously. I've heard, KD and Kyrie can stay together and they can do a trade for Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook, THT, and some picks. There's no way in my mind that happens. And then you hear Kevin Durant wants to go to Miami and wants to go to the Suns, but he still wants to play with Jimmy Butler and Bam in Miami. There's no way that happens. Because to me, if you're the Nets, the asking price for Kevin Durant is astronomical if I'm the Nets. I want 5, 6, 7 picks maybe. First round picks. I want young players in addition to that. I want a future from this. Because you no longer have a future because you gave up 1,000 picks in the James Harden trade. You don't have a future. So you need to create a future if you trade Kevin Durant. And it doesn't help that Rudy just got traded for, like, what did we say, 3 unprotected and a top 10 protected. Rudy just got traded for 4 first-round picks, and that's Rudy Gobert. No disrespect to Rudy Gobert, but Kevin Durant's way better. I feel like most people would be able to say that and not sound crazy. So if Rudy goes for what Rudy went for, because they still got some solid players. They still got Patrick Beverly. I want to say they still got Vanderbilt. They still got good players out of that deal. What is Kevin Durant worth? So if you ask me, Kevin Durant's going to be a net next year. I know he wants to trade. I know he wants out, but I don't see it happening. And at least not this offseason because so much has already moved. So many players have already signed big deals, and it's not impossible. I saw this wild deal where apparently the Warriors could potentially get him, and it was like Poole, Kuminga, Wiseman, a bunch of picks. It was wild. It was like gutting their depth and having Kevin Durant. It was wild, but apparently it's possible. But to be honest with you, I don't know if Kevin Durant's going to get moved. I don't think he's going to get moved, at least not this offseason. It doesn't feel like it. I think the asking price is crazy, and not even in a bad way. It's not like the Nets are asking for something Kevin Durant isn't worthy of. But I think no one has the draft capital and the pieces to be willing to make that move, because if you trade for Kevin Durant at what he's worth, you probably don't have a team that's good enough to win a championship, because you probably had to trade away a lot of depth. You probably had to trade away your other star player. And now you probably just have Kevin Durant and maybe some solid guys around him. And a lot of people are saying, well, Kevin Durant doesn't want to go here. Kevin Durant doesn't want to go there. Kevin Durant wants. To me, it doesn't matter what Kevin Durant wants, because logically, KD has 4 years under his contract, and people are saying, oh, well, he cannot play. He can just sit out like Anthony Davis did. No, I don't think he can, because the Anthony Davis situation was different. He was on the last year of his deal. It was clear. He made it clear that he would not sign an extension with other teams. It doesn't matter where Kevin Durant goes. He still has to play there for 4 more years. And if he decides to not play, I guarantee you the league's going to step in and find him to oblivion. They're going to make him play. There's no world where he can't play for whatever team he gets traded to. But I don't know if a team has what the Nets want. So I wouldn't be surprised. I'm going on record now. It's Monday, July 4th. I think Kevin Durant will start this upcoming season with the Brooklyn Nets. Now, he may get traded. He may get traded during the season. But if the Nets keep their asking price where they're keeping it, which is understandable, I'm not mad at them for keeping that price that high. But if they keep it that high, I don't think he gets traded. And let's be real. All this blame isn't solely on the players. The Nets organization, the ownership, the GMs, the front office, they have to take some ownership in this disaster as well. Because as front office guys, it's your job to be able to put together winning basketball teams. It's your job to know which players fit well. It's your job to be able to evaluate talent. And I get it. We're moving towards, or we're in a league where players have power, where leagues where players have mobility and they feel like they have a voice. It's not even feel like, they do have a voice. But there's got to be a balance. Y'all gave way too much power to these players. A prime example in itself is signing DeAndre Jordan. That literally makes no sense when you have Jared Allen. You tell those guys no. Jared Allen is worlds better than DeAndre Jordan, and y'all still gave him $40 million. So you gave them way too much power. Now you regret it, and now you're pulling back way too hard, because you gave Kyrie what is, to my interpretation of this is, from what I've heard, the contract extension you offered to Kyrie was not a max fully guaranteed. I haven't seen it all officially, and I don't think it's going to come out officially what they actually offered him. But from everywhere I'm hearing, they offered him a contract that had some stipulations and minimum games required for him to play in those last 2 years, for him to get the full guarantee. Like, there were some stipulations. There wasn't a fully guarantee. And I think he took that as disrespect, and that's why he was looking for a sign and trade. So I don't know if there's bad blood between Kyrie and KD. I don't know if KD's just ultimately doesn't want to play with Kyrie. I've heard reports that those two were still cool and would like to play together somewhere else. But if you ask me, and I've said it before, I don't think there's a better situation for Kevin Durant, a realistic one. Don't come in the comments saying, well, he can go play with Bam and Jimmy and, you know what I mean, and can keep Kyle Lowry. That's not realistic. I don't think there's a realistic trade out there that's better than just him staying with the Nets. I don't know if there's a better option than running back with KD, Kyrie. You now add Joe Harris. You have Ben Simmons, who's an amazing playmaker. I mean, hopefully you figure out the center situation. You got Nick Claxton, but to me at least, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, and I'm gonna get out of here because I feel like I'm rambling, they need to stay together. I think they're going to start the season together. We'll see what happens though. But that's it for me. If you made it this far, you are a real one, because I know this is a longer video. I didn't edit it down yet, but as of right now, I'm looking at 41 minutes recorded. Now I got to take out some time with some breaks, whatever. But if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Like, if you're brand new, please subscribe. If you're a recent subscriber, because we've got, no exaggeration, like 1,000 subscribers in the last month. Shout out to Shorts and Pirtle. I know a lot of y'all are Pirtle people. Y'all rock with Pirtle. Don't worry, the Pirtle's not going away. But I'm gonna be real with you. This type of content is the main content I like to create. I like to talk about basketball. I like to talk about the off season, actual games, stuff like that. The Pirtle stuff ain't going nowhere though. So if you're new subscriber, I appreciate you subscribing. If you made it all the way to the end, leave a like on the video. If you made it this far, you got to rock with it a little bit. If you haven't left a like, come on now, leave a like. I appreciate it. It helps the algorithm. And I'll see you in the next one. I'm out. Peace. This was fun for me. I hope you enjoyed it.